Dear students, I have taught you the definition of the sentence, the kinds of sentences, and I have told you about the 8 types of parts of speech. Today I will analyze one by one. So the 8 parts of speech will be analyzed by me today. Number 1 is noun. You write down. I have also told you earlier, I was teaching you the parts of speech. I have told you about the number. 8 numbers of parts of speech are there. Today, I want to analyze, narrate on the parts of speech one by one. You will know that the parts of speech in a sentence do their duty. Accordingly, they do their duty in order to make the sentence meaningful. And they are placed in proper positions and they will give rise to very beautiful meaning of the sentence. Very beautiful meaning of the sentence. So when the words are properly arranged, well placed, you will find the meaningful sentences. Today, I will discuss the 8 types of parts of speech, 8 kinds of parts of speech. Today, I will discuss. And you see, number 1 is noun. Number 1 is noun. A noun is a word. You mark. A noun is a word used as the name of the person, the name of the person, the name of the place, thing, animals, quality, action, and like them. So I want to say that a noun is a word. A noun is a word used as the name of a person. It is used as the name of a person, place, or thing that gives names to. Again, the second sentence is that gives names to a thing, a place, a person, animal, quality, or action. This is about the noun form. And I will give you the example. Number 1 example I want to give you is people respect him for his honesty. People respect him for his honesty. You write down. I am speaking slowly. You write down. People respect him for his honesty. H-O-N-E-S-T-Y. The second sentence is Columbus discovered America. Columbus discovered America. Again, you come to number 1 sentence. People respect him for his honesty. People respect him for his honesty. The second sentence is Columbus discovered America. You mark, students. Columbus discovered America. And here, people, the word people is a noun form. That noun is a common noun. Noun has its categories. I will tell you later. Today I am telling about the noun form. Noun has its categories. So that will be discussed. in the aftermath classes. So first of all, I want to say again, people respect him for his honesty. Here people is a common noun and honesty is an abstract noun. You underline these words. People is a common noun and honesty is an abstract noun. Columbus discovered America in the second sentence. Columbus is the name of a person. Columbus is the name of a person who discovered America. Columbus discovered America. The name of a person is also a noun that is called a proper noun. Columbus is the proper noun and America is also a proper noun. It is the name of a place. Columbus is the name of a person and America is the name of a place. Name of a place. So, in the second sentence, you got two nouns. One is a proper noun and the second one is also a proper noun. And in the sentence one, you have got two nouns. One is a common noun and the second one is an abstract noun. That is, people is a common noun and honesty is an abstract noun. So this is about the noun form. I will tell you the category later on. You come to pronoun. What is a pronoun? So that is very important. What is a pronoun? The words that stand for nouns or are used instead of nouns are known as pronouns. The words that stand for nouns, or are used instead of nouns are known as pronouns. So they are known as pronouns. Dear students, they are called antecedents. The pronouns are also called antecedents. Sometimes the nouns are also called. Sometimes. I have seen in the book of Wren and Martin, noun is sometimes an antecedent. And normally the pronouns used instead of nouns, used in place of nouns are called antecedents. I will give you the example of the pronoun. The example is, these are his pictures. You mark. These are his pictures. These is a pronoun. And his is also a pronoun. In this particular sentence, there are two pronouns. Number one is these, number two is his. These is a pronoun and his is also a pronoun. Again, you write down the sentence. These are his pictures. Mark. These are his pictures. These is a pronoun and his is also the pronoun. And this is about the definition. This is about the examples of the pronoun. I have given you two pronouns in that sentence. I have given you the noun form. This is about the pronoun. You come to another part of speech that is called adjective. What is the role of adjective? What is the function of adjective? And I will give you the example. An adjective is a word, you mark. An adjective is a word which modifies noun or pronoun. Adjective is a word which modifies noun or pronoun. It adds something to the meaning of the noun or pronoun. It adds something to. It gives additional qualification. It gives something to the meaning of a noun or a pronoun. It modifies noun or pronoun. That is the role of adjective. The role of adjective, the function of adjective is very important. And an adjective is a word. If you have time, you write down. An adjective is a word which modifies noun or pronoun. It adds something to the meaning of a noun. It is an additional qualification, no doubt. It is an additional qualification, additional thing to be used in order to highlight the noun or pronoun, in order to minimize the standard, or in order to disregard, or in order to give regards. And all these things will be done by adjective. So that is why he is a good boy, he is a bad boy. You mark. Good is adjective, bad is also adjective. And it qualifies the noun, boy. He is a bad boy, bad is adjective. He is a good boy, good is adjective. So boy is a noun. Your noun is a qualifier. And sometimes the pronoun is also qualifier. So sometimes instead of nouns. And I will give you another example. He is a brave boy, you mark. He is a brave boy. Brave boy. The boy is marked by his bravery. Bravery is something else. Bravery is a noun, quality. Bravery is a noun. There is a quality, abstract noun. But here I am telling you that he is a brave boy. So brave is an adjective. Boy is a noun form. Brave is an adjective. Bravery is a noun. But here I am telling you about the adjective. Here he is a brave boy. You mark, underline the word brave, and brave is an adjective form. And you mark. You come to number 4. Number 4 is about verb. What is the function of a verb? The verb in a sentence is the word that says something about something else. I have told you earlier. A verb is a word. A verb in a sentence is the word that says something about something else. That says something about something else in the same sentence. That is important. And it expresses an action or state. It expresses an action or state. Verbs are many. Auxiliary verb is there, helping verb, which is called auxiliary verb, be verb, full verb, main verb. That will be sometimes helped by the modal auxiliaries and other helping verbs. And verb categories are there, many categories of verbs. Many categories of verbs. I will also make a discussion. Grammar is not a small thing, students. Grammar is not a small thing. And you are to culture, you are to cultivate, you are to till, T-I-L-L. You are to till, you are to cultivate, you are to culture. Grammar is to be cultured always, every day. Because we are old. I am a retired man. I am a retired man. But still, I am reading grammar. The flexibility of grammar cannot be ignored. Nowadays, or today, I have seen many of the grammar books, and there is a flexibility in the grammar. You will never find any rigidity in the grammar. Grammar is not now rigid. Grammar is flexible. Changeability has already come. In the grammatical forms, changeability has come. In some of the cases, not all. So, you are to cover grammar. You are to read grammar. Be a doctor, no doubt. Be an engineer. Be a scientist. Be a businessman. Be a millionaire. Be everything. Be everybody. But I want that English will help you. English will help you because it is so essential. It is very essential that it will build your bright future. So dear students, always If possible, if time is there, you have to create time. You have to have time, create time. And see English. If you want to read, if you want to build your career, English is necessary. Only science will never do. Only arts subjects will never do. Only commerce subjects will never do. Just being a doctor, you cannot write a character certificate. Without knowing English, how can you write a character certificate? You cannot. You have to know English. Suppose you are going abroad, how can you say there? How can you cope up there? How can you cope up there? How can you utter a single word there in the foreign country? And just before going to the foreign countries, you have to appear in exam. You have to appear at an exam. And finally, you have to secure good mark. Unless you secure good mark in the written and viva, you cannot go abroad. Now, it has been a rule, or it is a rule now. And you have to appear at the exam. So, dear students, I will tell again about the verb form. A verb in a sentence is the word that says something about something else. That says something about something else. Suppose a noun is there in the sentence. There is a finite verb or a non-finite verb. And the finite verb is bound by tense, portion, and a number. And it will also say many things. The finite verb will say many things. Though the non-finite verb is not bound by tense, is not bound by portion and number, but it has the rule in the sentence in a different way. So that may be a noun form, gerundial form. So in our high school career, when I was reading there in high school, just before 1976, I was reading in high school. In the grammar book of that high school, in the grammar book, there was a catenative. There was a catenative, but you have no catenative today. That system has already been changed, that grammatical portion has already been changed, and you have a tense pattern and a verb pattern. The catenative is no more found. But in our high school class, in our high school career, we have seen catenatives. What is catenative? 4 types of catenatives are there. Number 1, to plus infinitive. That is about the verb. Number 2, bare infinitive. The bare infinitive, not to is there. Number 3, about ing form. About ing form, gerundial form, gerund, ing form. And then verb plus past participle. Then verb plus past participle. The verb may be best form or the past form, then past participle. So these are the 4 catenatives. But now I do not find these catenatives in grammar books. Even if in Wren and Martin, the grammar book of S. P. Codor, the grammar book of F.T. Wood, the grammar book of Thomson and Martinet, I do not get these catenatives. But we had been taught by our teacher, English teacher then in high school career. Catenatives, I have kept in memory. 4 catenatives are there. Number 1, to plus infinitive. Number 2, bare infinitive. Number 3, gerundial, ing form. And number 4, verb plus past participle. But you cannot find today. Anyhow, you have to keep all these things in memory. You read science, you read arts, you read commerce, but you keep a grammar book with you. That will help you a lot. You will build the career of your children, because you will get a very good mathematics teacher. You will get a very good physics teacher. You will get a very good botany geology teachers. You will get very good botany geology teachers. But you cannot find a good English teacher. You cannot find. Very selected few. Very selected few. Anyhow, you have to toil hard, toil hard, strive hard, culture hard, in order to gain something in English. So, thank you. So, I will give you the example. The verb is a word which says something else, which says something about something else, which says something about something else. Maybe it is a noun or a pronoun or anything. It says something. It expresses an act. It also expresses an action or state. It only expresses sometimes. It expresses action or state. That is the function of the verb. And I will give you an example. The girl wrote a letter to her cousin. The girl wrote a letter to her cousin. And here, root, W-R-O-T-E, root is a verb. It is a main verb. It is a full verb. Which verb? Now that is a finite verb. Because the root has something to do with the girl. That root word, the verb, has something to do with the girl. The girl is a noun form. So that is why it is bound by tense, number, and also person. And that is why root is a finite verb here. So the girl wrote a letter to her cousin. Here, root is a verb you mark. I go home. Go is a verb, finite verb. I go home. I want to go home. 2 plus infinitive. I want to go home. 2 plus infinitive. To go. I go home. Go is a finite verb. Anyhow, it is a verb. And this is about the verb I told you. You come to add a verb. What is the rule of the add verb? What is the rule of the add verb? The function of the add verb is very difficult. The function of the add verb is very complex. Why? An adverb is a word, you mark. An adverb is a word that modifies a verb, an adjective. Verb or an adjective, it has that capability. That adverb has a capability to modify the verb form and also the adjective. And even another adverb. You mark. Verb is, an adverb is a word which can modify the verb, adjective, and another adverb. Three functions, threefold fact, three functions are there. Verb, adjective, and even adverb are modified by the adverb. So I have told you that the function of the adverb is complex. So you have to look to. And it shows how, when. It shows how, when, where, or why an action was done. It says or it shows. What does it show? It shows how, when, where, or why. How, when, where, or why an action was taken. That is important. And I will also give you the example. The example is, I am almost ready. You write down the sentence. I am almost ready. Here almost is the adverb. I am almost ready. Almost is the adverb. And ready is the adjective. Almost ready. Because almost has modified ready. In which way I am ready? I am almost ready. I am almost ready. Almost will say something. Give something to the adjective, verb, and also another adverb. This is about the adjective form. You come to preposition. Prepositions are many. Prepositions are many in number. A preposition is a word. You mark. A preposition is a word used with a noun or a pronoun. A preposition is a word used with a noun or a pronoun to show how the person or thing, denoted by the noun or pronoun denoted by the noun or a pronoun stands in relation to something else. Stands in relation to something else. You write down. If you have a pen, you write down. A preposition in a word used with a noun or a pronoun. A preposition is a word used with a noun or a pronoun to show how the person or thing denoted by the noun or pronoun stands in a relation to something else. Stands in a relation to something else. You mark. You mark the importance of the statement. Stands in relation to something else. I am giving you the example. The girl is fond of music. The girl is fond of music. I cannot say that the girl is fond of music. I cannot say. Because that cannot be verb. So fond will take a preposition, that is of. Here in the sentence, the of is the preposition. The girl is fond of. The girl is fond of music. He is fond of reading. I am fond of eating eggs. All these things fond of. Of is a preposition. Here we mark of is a preposition. I prefer tea to milk. If I say the sentence, what do you prefer? I prefer tea to milk. To is a preposition. To is a preposition here. The role of a preposition is manifold. The role of a preposition is manifold. Look to, look after, look for, look about, look at. You see, this small preposition that may be a particle. A small preposition changes the meaning of the word. It changes the meaning of the word. You imagine what English is. That is why English is very difficult. That is why it is an international language, a global language. It is very difficult to students. But I have toiled hard in order to make you convinced, in order to make you conscious of the language and the literature. And I have taken a decision to teach you through this YouTube, which is owned by me. Only the teaching and the learning process will be done. The teaching and the learning process will be done. Just after my retirement, I decided to do so. And also I have newly opened this channel, and you have to be very attentive to the video while listening. You have to be very attentive to the video, and you will see my presence there in the video. You will see my presence. You may think it lively, the teaching is lively. You may think it a classroom teaching, and then you should be very attentive. Otherwise, you cannot. And when English is there, you should be very attentive. And you come to another thing, that is about the conjunction. That is about the conjunction. What is a conjunction? A conjunction is a word used to join words or sentences. A conjunction is a word used to join words or sentences. All conjunctions are joiners or connectors. All the conjunctions and or what either or neither. So many conjunctions I have told you in the earlier class. I have told you, but you have to keep it in memory that a conjunction is a word. A conjunction is a word used to join words or sentences. All conjunctions are conjunctions, not a conjunction. All conjunctions are joiners or connectors. I am also giving you the example. The brother and the sister, you mark. The brother and the sister. We are ill. The brother and the sister. The brother, take it as a word. And the sister, take it at the word. Or two words, the brother, the sister. And there is an and, just in between the two. And there were, instead of saying brothers, comma, sisters, brother, sister, we cannot say. There must be a conjunction. The brother and the sister, and is a conjunction. And here you will join two sentences. You will write down Rama went home and Hari went to his college. Rama went home and Hari went to his college. Then clauses came. Clauses came there. And that is the principal. Both of the sentences are the principal clauses because they are independent. I will tell you the clause, phrase, so many things will be analyzed. I have taken a venture in YouTube that I will teach the students, I will teach English to the students without taking a single part. Because I am a retired man and I want that the students, those who are flourishing, those who want to build their careers and are to learn something out of my teaching, from my teaching. That is why I have taken a venture. So dear students, all conjunctions are joiners or connectors. If you like this video, you have to subscribe because the connection will go to you. When I teach, you will get the connection. When I teach, you will get the connection easily. And you will go through. You will be attentive to listen to the video. If you like this video, like my teaching, you have to subscribe. Then you come to, this is about the conjunction I told you. Conjunction is category number 7. Then you come to interjection. I have already told you earlier that the interjections are not part of the sentences. Interjections are not the parts of the sentences. Some of the grammarians have pointed out. But what I say, it is a part. And other grammarians have also said that interjection is a part and parcel. It is an integral part of the sentence. Not all sentences. In some of the sentences, when necessary interjection is there. Alas, ah, oh, these are all interjections. Interjections. What is the function of interjection? You have to note. An interjection is a word. An interjection is a word which expresses some sudden feelings. And an interjection is a word that expresses the sudden feelings. Interjections have no grammatical connection. Some say interjections have no grammatical connection with any word in the sentences in which they are used. They have no grammatical connections. Strictly speaking, interjections are not parts of speech. Some say. Strictly speaking, they are not a part of the sentences. But it is a part. Integral. Indispensable. In some of the sentences. Alas, I am giving you the example. Alas, the poor man met with an accident. Alas, the poor man met with an accident. Alas is an interjection. Alas, in sorrow, in dejection, being bereaved, being laden with sorrow, being bereaved. One says, alas, out of sorrow, out of sadness, out of dejection, out of being panic stricken. He says, alas, the poor man met with an accident. Alas is an interjection, though it is not, it is very integral in this sentence. While you write the sentence, LS will give something to your sentence. And that LS is nothing but interjection. Mabro, an interjection. Oh, interjections. So, these are the eight kinds of parts of speech I discussed. And this much today. In the next class, I will tell you about other things. Thank you all. Thank you all.